He arrived just before dawn, gray hoodie, old jeans, a plain name tag reading janitor. No one gave him a second glance as he pushed the mop bucket through the back door of Magnolia's Table, the city's favorite upscale restaurant rumored to be rotting from within. He'd read every complaint, every accusation whispered online about rude staff, missing guest items stolen, gratuities. Now, undercover, he'd see with his own eyes whether his life's pride had turned rotten. Under the polish, he caught his reflection in the freezer door, a 42-year-old billionaire, scrubbing floors for minimum wage. Not even his mother would recognize him. He almost laughed, but the stink of sour mop water reminded him why he was here. In the dining room, early sunlight danced on spotless silverware. He pretended to polish the glass panels, but listened. Whispers. The head cook yelling at a young waitress again. She stammered apologies, clutching her apron, eyes wet. He made note of her name badge, Ella. He lingered when she scurried past him, face flushed. She smelled of cheap soap and fried oil. She paused near the staff lockers and pressed a folded note into her apron pocket. He knew fear when he saw it. He'd worn that look when bankers once mocked his first loan request. Mid-morning, the rush hit. Plates clattered. Patrons laughed oblivious. He wiped a spill near table 9 and heard it. A man with a limp, cane hooked on his chair, asking politely for soup. Without salt. The cook, a barrel of sweat and arrogance named Roland, grunted from the pass window. "We don't do special orders for freeloaders." He barked loud enough for the whole room to hush. The man's cheeks flamed, humiliated. The undercover owner felt heat rush to his fists, but forced his broom to keep moving. He watched Ella sneak into the kitchen, her small shoulders squaring bravely. She argued with Roland in desperate whispers. He caught, "He's a veteran, please." Roland waved a greasy ladle at her like a weapon. She returned, empty-handed, shame thick in the air. An hour later, a guest stormed out near tears, missing luggage. Again, the so-called lost luggage curse that ruined their reviews monthly. The fake janitor waited, watched Ella scurry to the till, slip her own tip money into an envelope, whisper to the night cashier. A few minutes later, the guest got a phone call. Smiles returned. Nobody thanked Ella. She just wiped her eyes. Behind the counter, he saw it now. Quiet sacrifice crushed under loud cruelty. He stayed late, pretended to mop near the lockers. The staff filed out laughing, unaware the janitor checked the security feed from his hidden phone app. He rewound it to when Ella wept. Alone, she'd counted her coins, added her meager tips to cover lost luggage again. Meanwhile, Roland strutted to the big glass tip jar, twisted it from its place, stuffed a chunk of folded bills into his greasy pocket. He patted the jar back like a crown on a thief's head. The camera feed caught every flick of his greedy fingers. At closing, Ella lingered again, tracing her finger on the empty jar. He asked gently, voice rough from hours of pretending. "Rough day." She startled, eyes big, then shrugged. "Just tired. Just hope tomorrow's better." She shuffled off into the night, sneakers worn thin. He locked the doors. Behind her, mind racing. He'd built an empire to feed people like her. Now rats feasted on his walls. The next day, he returned before dawn again, but not alone. He hid 2 extra cameras behind the cash register and the staff lockers. He greeted Roland cheerily, received a grunt and an insult. He mopped floors while Ella carried plates twice her weight, back bent, voice soft as sugar with the worst of customers. He counted how many times Roland snapped fingers at her, how she flinched. He wanted to rip off his disguise and fire the man on the spot, but proof was sweeter than rage. By lunch, another lost bag, another discreet hush payment from Ella's pocket. He caught her, outside by the dumpsters, counting loose coins again. She jumped when she saw him. He whispered, "Why do you do it?" She swallowed tears. "Someone has to. People come here for comfort. They shouldn't lose more." His heart cracked right there. That night, after closing, he called everyone to the dining room. Roland yawned loudly. Ella hugged herself in the corner. He pulled off his janitor's cap, lifted his hood, straightened his spine. Gasps. Some gaped, others turned pale. The CEO in a janitor's rags. "I've watched. Enough," he began, voice calm but sharp as glass. He replayed the hidden footage on the big wall TV. Roland's greasy theft, Ella's hush money sacrifices, the disabled man humiliated for asking for soup. Silence roared louder than any scream. Roland puffed, tried to talk, but security flanked him quick, hands tight on his elbows. No lawyer would save him from charges this time. The staff watched as the owner turned to Ella, her eyes wide, shaking her head like a child caught with cookies. He knelt, so she wouldn't feel small anymore. "Ella, you paid for our failures. I owe you," she stammered. "I don't want trouble, sir." He laughed gently, warmth pushing the cold greed out of his walls. "Not trouble. Reward." He handed her an envelope, thick with bills fatter than her stolen tips. She froze, mouth open. "This covers what you lost, plus a raise. And starting tomorrow, you run guest relations. Full benefits, school tuition if you want to study." She sobbed so quietly you'd think she was afraid to be happy. He hugged her like a father who'd found a lost daughter. Around them, the other staff watched with new eyes, some ashamed, some inspired. He made sure they understood. This place feeds people with dignity or feeds nobody at all. He watched her leave that night, shoulders finally straight, tip jar safe, no coins from her pocket ever again. The janitor's mop rested by the door, never needed again by the owner who promised to never look away again. Morning came thick with whispers. News spread faster than spilled wine. The staff who once mocked the quiet janitor now tiptoed around the polished marble floor, eyes darting from hidden cameras to each other's forced smiles. Gone were the easy laughs at Ella's expense. Roland was gone too, dragged out red-faced into the night, like yesterday's rotten fish. But poison doesn't leave so easy. It lingers in walls, in minds, behind polished kitchen doors where knives whisper secrets no camera can hear. The owner, still dressed in plain clothes, but with an authority that buzzed in the air like electricity. Before a storm, arrived before the chefs, the waitstaff, the cashiers. He stood alone in his empty dining room, staring at the security feed on his phone. One camera caught Ella arriving early, a fresh uniform crisp on her shoulders, sleeves rolled to the elbows like a new promise. Another camera caught two busboys whispering in the back hallway, words half hissed, half laughter, too quick for audio to catch, but their darting eyes spoke of more rot in the walls. He noted it, every glance, every false smile. By noon, Ella floated across the floor with a new badge pinned proudly on her collar. Guest relations manager. Guests who once barely noticed her now felt her kindness like warm sunlight after a cold storm. She stopped by each table, soft words, real laughter, plates rechecked, napkins folded perfect, tips rose without force. Happy customers whispered blessings when she left. Some old regulars pulled her aside to slip extra notes into her hand, praising the turnaround. But shadows still lingered behind the kitchen doors. Inside the kitchen, knives slammed harder than necessary. Pans dropped just loud enough for threats to hide behind clatter. A new sous chef, heavy-set with suspicious eyes named Marco, watched Ella with a glare sharp enough to cut steak without a blade. He'd been Roland's drinking buddy, rumor said. Some staff wondered who'd be next to fall under the owner's hidden eye. Marco made sure they all knew he wasn't afraid. Late lunch rush. A family of 5 arrived, father in a crisp suit, mother in pearls, 3 children, tugging at the linen tablecloths. The youngest, a boy no older than 6, stared wide-eyed at Ella, then grinned when she offered him an extra cookie on the house. The father smiled, but Marco, watching from the kitchen pass window, muttered curses no child should ever hear. He grabbed a bowl meant for the family's table, spat in the sauce when no one looked. The dishwasher boy caught it, eyes wide, mouth trembling. The boy slipped out back, found the owner near the dumpster checking last night's invoices. Breathless, terrified, the boy blurted it all. Without a word, the owner walked through the dining room, nodding at guests, smiling at Ella. But inside, a storm brewed thick and black. He paused at the kitchen door, swung it open so hard it crashed against the wall. Marco turned, sneer caught in his throat. The staff froze mid-chop, mid-pour, mid-curse. In a voice colder than any winter storm, the owner ordered Marco to pack up and never return. No lawyers, no excuses, just the truth. Caught on the hidden camera heat, planted above the pass window just this morning. Marco didn't resist. He saw something in the owner's eyes that made grown men feel small, something Roland had ignored until it was too late. Ella, watching through the swinging door crack, pressed her hand to her mouth. She saw her boss's fury, but under it, she saw his grief. This place was his child, and these men had spit in its mouth for years. She promised herself quietly, never again. Days passed. Marco gone. The sous chef position vacant. Ella rising taller every shift, voice steady, tips brimming the jar, so full the guests snapped photos of her thank you notes tucked around it. She slipped some of her share into the junior waiter's pockets, refusing to hoard what she knew others needed. Each night, the owner watched her on the hidden feeds, a soft smile on his tired face. But trouble loves silence. It creeps in through old wood, forgotten debts, bruised pride. One night, well past closing, when the last guests drifted away into the cool city night, Ella counted out the day's tip jar, so heavy it made her arms ache, eyes wide at the kindness people still carried. She turned to find the owner behind her, an envelope in his hand, thicker than the last. "You've done more than I dared hope for," he said, voice low, gentle, no disguise left. He pressed the envelope to her palm. She tried to protest, but he silenced her with a nod. "Tomorrow," he said, "you take a day off. Rest. You've earned more than these walls ever gave you." She laughed, wiping a tear. But outside, in the alley behind the restaurant, a figure lurked. Behind the dumpster, phone screen lighting up a scarred face. Marco's older brother, Vince. Ex-con, muscle for hire. He watched the warm scene through the window, rage seething like boiling oil. Inside, the owner noticed a shadow flicker past the glass, but brushed it off as a stray cat. He patted Ella's shoulder. "Lock up well tonight. Tomorrow, you're a guest, not staff. Come have lunch. My treat." She nodded, a smile brighter than any chandelier. He left through the back door, steps light, mind replaying every betrayal, every secret pocket of what he'd cleaned so far. He didn't see the figure slip from shadow to shadow behind him. Didn't hear the muffled steps on the wet pavement. Didn't feel the weight of the old pipe until it cracked across the back of his skull. Inside, Ella jolted at a dull thud echoing from the alley. She dropped the tip jar, coins rolling like marbles across polished floors. She sprinted to the back door, heart pounding, breath caught, halfway between a prayer and a scream. Outside, moonlight flickered on a wet trail, blood disappearing into the alley's bend. No sign of him. No sign of the man she called sir, who believed in her when no one else did. In the far dark, Vince's ragged laugh drifted back through the night air like a curse. Ella's fists clenched around the dropped envelope, the edges soaked in rain and fear. Somewhere in that alley, her boss was either dead or worse, and tomorrow's daylight would reveal if this place had truly been saved, or if poison still owned its walls. She thought dragging him from that alley meant she'd won. But monsters in this city don't die. They follow. And tonight, they were closer than ever.